It takes but a second, really.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank the people that have come out today to join us with Michelle Hassler from the Prince Albert Multicultural Council. And Michelle is a busy, busy woman, and she's taken time out of her weekend off to come and do a presentation for us, and we appreciate it. And I'll let you tell them more of the particulars of what you do with the Prince Albert Multicultural Council.
Yes,
okay,
definitely.
so thank you for coming.
Thank you. Hi.
You're so enthusiastic.
Yes, hi. Thank you, everyone. Beautiful crowd and stuff for sure. Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Michelle Hassler again, Executive Director of the Prince Albert Multicultural Council. And so as you can see, I'm a Filipino. So I came from the Philippines, immigrated here in Canada in 2011. So November 11, 2011, I arrived in Canada. So I celebrated my 13th year of being in Canada last week in commemoration of our Remembrance Day as well too. So I remembered landing in Vancouver, and everybody has the puppy button under, and that was my first time to see and learn about that it was Remembrance Day in Canada on November 11th. So yeah, so 13 years in Canada. Came here to join my Canadian husband. I have 2 stepchildren. They're a bit grown up now. The boy is 23 and also working now, flying in and out of Alberta. And then my stepdaughter is in grade 12. So she's going to graduate next year and stuff. So yeah, and I live out of town. I live in Birch Hills, but I work here in Prince Albert, and we've been with Prince Albert Multicultural Council for 10, 11 years now and stuff. So yeah, well, I'm very happy and honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me. We're gonna have delicious coffee and snacks here afterwards. So yes, so very briefly, welcome to Prince Albert Multicultural Council. So the PA Multicultural Council has been in Prince Albert community for over 50 years now. And it started as what the stories that I have heard, it started as a little gathering of cultural dance groups in the community. And then they started events to gather together and just share food and dances and all of that, and just visiting, until it is now have grown to, we have opened all of our events and activities to the public now. And it's so amazing to see how our community really love to come and learn more about our diverse culture here in our community. So that's really nice growth that we have seen over the last, I would say, 15, 20 years here in Prince Albert. So I hope we would be able to spread that more in the next coming years, especially for the little children that are that we have now in our community and surrounding areas. So that's pretty good. Before I go forward ahead, I would like to acknowledge that we are on treaty land. We have come together today on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional territory of the Cree, Saulteaux, Stoney, Nakoda, and Dakota, and also acknowledge the contribution of the traditional homeland of the Métis peoples. So our mission in PAMC is to foster and cultivate the appreciation of all cultures in our community, and that is through education, settlement services, community engagement, and celebrations. So we envision a culturally vibrant Prince Albert community here every year, and for the many more years to come here in our city. So when it comes to education, we have programs in our organization that we offer regular programs, and these programs are funded by the provincial government. So we have settlement employability support that is for newcomers, immigrants, refugees that comes to our city, and that for us to help them a little bit with employment assistance or employment support. So if you know of anybody that would benefit with that, neighbors, friends, in church or in school or something like that. So that is open for newcomers, just to help them how and guide them how to start working here in Canada. English and stage 2, English for employment and stage 2 English classes are open for newcomers, immigrants, refugees only, for them to learn more English language development. So for those that wanting to improve more their English so that they can find a decent, good job here in Canada, and also just to be able to communicate well here with the English language. A lot of other countries, even Philippines, we are a non-English speaking country, so English is sometimes the second, third, fourth language of a newcomer or an immigrant. So yeah, Enhanced Career Bridging Program and Bridging to Employment Program are skills training programs that we offer. And so those have 10 weeks of classroom instruction. So our participants they will learn a lot of employability and life skills. Some of them are really finding challenges and barriers while they cannot find employment. So being in the program, they will be able to learn a lot of employment, get themselves ready again to get to work, and then hopefully after the 10 weeks, they will be able to go through a work placement and stuff. So that is the goal of the program, is to get them ready and then get them some trainings and certifications so they can add that into their resume, and then hopefully be able to get into work placement. So most of our participants get absorbed in their work placement, which we are very thankful. But if they don't, then that is a good Canadian work experience added to their resumes. There are a lot of newcomers, immigrants, that they are struggling because they don't have a Canadian work experience. And so being in an internship or a work placement, that gives them a very good additional in their resume to have that certain number of weeks for a Canadian work experience. This year we are very proud to launch, just last September of 2024, funded by the ESDC, Government of Canada, we launched our Youth Employment Skills and Support Program. So this is now another skills training, but it's more one-on-one skills training and work placement as well for youth, ages 15 to 30 years old, that are also wanting to find employment but also struggling. This one has a wraparound support, which is very good. Anything that they do need, we will try to provide and guide them as much as possible. Now, we are very proud of this program because this is the very first program of the PAMC that is not only open to everybody in the community in Prince Albert, but we are also expanding outside nearby communities. So we can reach up to like Shellbrook, Nepawin, out to the reserves around our area, up to Melfort, Tisdale. So then that will be more of like a lot of people, especially in the reserve, if they wanted to come to the city to find work, we will be able to help that. Or like somewhere that wants to move in the city, or anywhere that they want the youth wants to find employment in their own communities, we will also help them, and they just don't have the support that they need. So this would be a very good new program at the PAMC. So yeah, so those are the regular programs that we kept ourselves busy in the office regularly and stuff. And then aside from that, every year we organize and partner with a lot of community organizations in Prince Albert, or like in general in Canada, in Saskatchewan with Multicultural Council of Saskatchewan. We organize a lot of multicultural, anti-racism, and diversity events, festivals, and activities all year long. Quickly, some of the events and activities that we do every March is we recognize anti-racism, and we do anti-racism events. March 21 is the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. So PAMC usually do an activity or an event in our office during that time. The last couple years we have done the blanket exercise for our newcomer immigrants participants. So it's very good for them to learn firsthand the colonization, how the Europeans colonized the Turtle Island. And it's so nice for them to be able to be doing it and then realizing it rather than just like looking at it and reading in books and stuff. So that has been a really good activity every March that we do. And then sometimes we do another diversity event or something like that. Multicultural Canada Day, we organized that July 1st at the riverbank. So the PAMC put all of that in partnership with the city of Prince Albert. So we have done that back in the riverbank since after the COVID. So we're very, very happy with that. Explore Culture Multicultural Children's Summer Day Camp. That's just a 4-day camp that we do at the end of July for children ages 7 to 11 years old. Every end of September, in celebration of Culture Days, we do our Tapis Drama Cultural Festival. We just did another successful year at the Carleton Comprehensive High School on September 28 and 29, so that was very, very good. We have just established our PAMC Youth Council. We have 6 or 7 active youth in there, and that is just to get the voices of the youth and do some activities with them. We do field trips once in a while with our classes and programs. We usually take them Waniskewen Heritage Park or the Batoche. We get them to do that. There was one year that we did dog sledding just outside, I forgot where it is, just outside.
Christopher Lake.
Yeah, something like that,
Yeah,
yeah. There is that, yeah, so we did that, and the students really enjoyed that. That was a really good experience for them. And of course we do our diversity nights, that is with our Discovering Diversity project. Speaking about that, the diversity night we usually do at this month in celebration of Saskatchewan Multicultural Week, and that is why I'm here today. Thank you for inviting me for being here. So the Saskatchewan Multicultural Week this year is started yesterday, November 16, and it will run till November 24, 2024. So this year we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Saskatchewan Multicultural Act with a focus on the theme Celebrate Community, Honor Diversity, Act for Equity. So it's pretty clear theme. We always love to celebrate our community. We always, in PAMC, we love to really celebrate and honor the various diversity that we have in our community. It's very, like we have seen a lot of increase of newcomers, immigrants in our city, in our province, and in Canada in general. But yeah, so that will be really good. If you want to learn more about the Saskatchewan Multicultural Act, there is a really nice link at the Multicultural Council of Saskatchewan website. So they have a really good, it's so long for me to read it all here, but with that, I do like to invite everyone, if you can, this Friday, November 22 at 5:30 in our PAMC office, we will have our diversity night in celebration of Saskatchewan Multicultural Week. So this year we are focusing, and we are very excited because we are focusing on storytelling theme this year on Friday. So we have a Nigerian storyteller and a Métis storyteller coming in on Friday, and it will be very fun and interactive storytellers. We also have a Vietnamese youth singer that will showcase some Vietnamese songs, and we'll learn about that. And of course, there is free food and snacks for everyone. Registration is also free, so we will serve some Ukrainian and Filipino food for everyone. So if you can, if you have nothing planned, put that in your calendar and join us on Friday, November 22, 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. You don't have to bring anything, just come and enjoy that evening with us and learn more about the cultures that we are going to showcase on that day. There will be a door prize provided by Save on Foods later on in the evening. So yeah, so that is going to be happening on Friday, November 22. So we are very excited for that. So with the theme, we encourage everyone to engage in conversations that focus on our diversity, collective strength, and contributions, but also do not forget to also talk about the challenges. There are always challenges. There's always, like some little problems, but how can we be respectful in all of the culture and the relationships that we have, addressing social justice issues that are essential for everyone to be valued for all our identities. So I know that there is some strength, but there's also some weaknesses, but it's so nice to be able to talk about it and to be able to have conversation, but be very respectful about it and stuff. So with that, because we are a small group here, we're just gonna do a little bit of a group conversation here. We can start our conversation right here, right now. Celebrate community, honor diversity, and act for equity. I do have several questions here that if you can answer or share, that would be really nice. What are the various culture that you have seen in our community?
When I worked at Mount St. Joseph's, Filipinos.
There's a lot of Filipino people, yeah.
And then eventually East Indian.
East Indian, yeah. What else?
Vietnamese.
Nigerian,
Vietnamese.
Vietnamese. There are quite a lot of Vietnamese as well too. What else do you see?
Ukrainian.
Ukrainians are coming as well too. Yes. Yeah. So there's quite a lot of really a lot
Not
of.
just Nigerian, like all of West Africa.
There's a lot of West
It seems
Africa.
like it's not just
Yes.
Nigeria.
So there is Eritreans. That's
Yeah.
also from Africa. Democratic, what is
Congo?
it? Yeah, of Congo.
Democratic.
Yes, yeah,
DRC.
DRC, yes, of Congo. So there's quite a lot of that culture as well, and they seem to be staying here in our community, which is really good and stuff. There's also we have noticed that there's a lot of Chinese peoples in our English classes as well. So that population also have increased in Prince Albert, so which is really good. Have you experienced or learned different cultural traditions or practices other than your own?
I can't help but do it.
What's
With
that?
I can't help but do it with my job. I get it all the
yes,
time.
yeah. So you have to really immerse
Yeah.
in there and stuff. Yeah. So how about the others? Have you experienced anything like from food to language to
Powwows I've been to.
what's that?
Powwows.
Powwows. I've been to powwows as well. That's pretty good.
Right.
Ukrainian food.
Ukrainian food.
My Filipino friends from work introduced me to chicken feet.
Oh,
Yeah.
how did you like that?
I liked it. So I had chicken feet and rice 2 evenings in a row.
Oh my goodness.
And also, to be honest, I've gone to 2 different Filipino churches in the city.
Oh, there is some
And
there.
I
I don't
also
even
have
know.
been invited to a Filipino mass this evening, but I don't think I'll go to.
So in the Filipino mass, do they do like the Tagalog, the
I
language?
don't know.
Ah.
All I know is that it's held at St. Joseph's Catholic Church.
Oh,
And they also
okay.
have a Filipino priest who I haven't met yet.
Ah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, I don't even eat the chicken feet. I'm a Filipino, but I rarely eat
That's
that.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'm part Filipino.
That's good,
but I
yeah.
don't know it, yeah.
Yeah. So what else? What other that you have experienced?
Well, we've been invited to birthday parties and not a funeral, but like a celebration of life kind of with
Oh.
Syrian families, and that was
Oh.
very unique in the home.
Is it different from?
Well, the women went separately into a room with the women and children sat separate from the men, and the men had like a prayer service in the living room, and the women visited in the bedroom. And then there were certain
Okay.
times where one of the women would say, you know, now we have to be quiet for a few minutes or something, and then we had lots of food afterwards, so that part of it we had in common.
Yes.
But also, like, I was going to say, I grew up with my grandma and her parents,
Yes.
and they were Norwegian, and so we made lefse and krumakaka
Oh, I love
and
lefse,
lutefisk and all that. But then we had visitors from Norway, and they were saying, "Oh, that's so old-fashioned. We don't do that in Norway anymore."
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Eh?
Yeah.
So that also like
Yeah.
evolves in there. Oh, yeah, and stuff. So it's different. Like growing up in the Philippines, there's quite a lot of like some practices that we've. It's different from every time I go back home now. Like with the little children, you just feel like, oh, it's just like so different and stuff now. Like when I was growing up, I know that here I noticed a lot that in the winter time there's always the puzzles, and because you can't go outside, right? So you do puzzles or you do board games and stuff like that.
Cards.
We cards. We do have that in the Philippines, but because of our weather, we tend to play outside more. So it's more of an outside game rather than, so I have no patience to sit down and do puzzles and stuff. So I just don't, because I'm more of like the outside. So we play around, we run outside and stuff. But then now it's so different with, like I've seen my nephews and my cousins' kids, and they're just into like their cell phone now, and
Yeah.
and then at home, like it's kind of like really different now and stuff. Like we're losing that thing, and that's one example. Like in our children's camp in the summer, we tend to do a lot of the various cultural traditions and practices that we do. So we always incorporate traditional games. And so children of different cultures will learn a particular traditional game, a dance, a music, or a language or something like that. So it's nice to be able to kind of like get our younger generation to get back into culture and stuff.
And there's a lot in our day-to-day lives that we have taken from different cultures and we don't even realize.
Yes.
You know, and
Yes.
like when I was teaching, I was called Cookum a lot, which I always felt very honored to be called Cookum
Yes,
by the
yeah.
kids, you know, and or just different expressions that we have, like saying ufta,
Yeah.
you know,
Ah.
things like that. And we don't even realize. Or like, I come from southern Saskatchewan, and when I came here, I noticed everybody said, "Oh, my girl, my boy."
Yeah.
But we
Right.
don't say that as much down. And when
No.
I go home, I'd say, you know, I was saying, "Oh, come here, my girl." My auntie looked at me. Yeah.
That's actually true. Now that you're saying that, so the Philippines have been colonized with the Spanish for over 300 years, and that's why if you look at us, we are a little bit of Latin feature and stuff. So there's a lot of like the Spanish speaking that would come up to me, and they started, "Hola, ¿cómo estás?" Blah, blah. And then I was like, I don't understand Spanish and stuff, because they think, and our last names in the Philippines are a lot of Spanish last names. We like my last name before I got married is Aranjuez, Silva Aranjuez, and that's pretty very Spanish. We have Gonzalez and Romero, so it's always the Spanish, and it's because of the Spanish colonization. Now we have Philippine tradition or culture that are picked up from the Spanish culture. So now that comes a point to like, so which is really our traditional something, like a Filipino tradition, because we have a traditional dress, but it's Spanish. Like we have the long
Yes.
kind of thing, and that's
Okay.
more of a Spanish type, right? And then we also have our indigenous peoples, and we recognize that as well. But it's already a mixture of cultures now, like in the Philippines as well. But we call it our Filipino culture, like we. do Filipino culture and stuff, you know, like, so it's very interesting up to like probably in once people's beliefs and traditions probably is what it's gonna be, right, and stuff. So yeah, so we got a lot of that. My main dialect in the Philippines is very different from Tagalog, which is our main language. My main dialect is most of the words are picked up from Spanish. So I count in Spanish, our days of the week is in Spanish, some of our like little cutleries, like we say spoon, cuchara, cucharita, tenedor, that's Spanish. And that's my main dialect in the Philippines, but we called it Visayan. And so there's all of that, but then I cannot speak a full Spanish. Like I can't put a full Spanish sentence together. But if a Spanish person comes up to me and started talking, I can pick up little words here and there and stuff. So it's very interesting. So what are the strengths and contributions that you can see from various communities, cultural groups? What did they bring here?
Work ethics.
In our community, work ethics, labor, yeah, labor in the community,
Arts and entertainment.
arts and the arts and culture, right? Diversity from music to, you know, food.
Yeah, food.
That's number one.
I have,
Now we've got to try variety of food,
Mhm.
and we don't have to travel far to be able to do that.
And there always seems to be like, in the entrepreneurial spirit, there always seems to be like new food related
New
stuff
food
coming
related
up,
stuff, yeah.
and building on
Yes.
that culture. 'Cause
Yes, yeah, yeah. There's always that, right? There's always the biggest part of somebody else's culture. All of us culture is food. That's always you can never take away that food.
Mhm.
What else?
Well, definitely, like in our medical, we have so many nurses and, you know, South African and Filipino and East Indian medical professionals
Medical
coming with their
professionals.
knowledge and training and experience to contribute.
Contribute to that? Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
doctors, there's,
Mm-hmm.
because I lived in Melfort for 15 years, and there's
Yes.
Dr. Yemi, who's from Nigeria, but then
Mm-hmm.
you come here and there's a bunch of other Nigerian doctors, and they're all bringing
They're all bringing their
And
knowledge and
their
expertise.
knowledge and expertise.
Yeah.
And Dr. Yemi's wife is a lawyer who opened her own law firm in Melfort, so that's
Nice.
another different thing.
That's
Mhm.
another practice and stuff as well
Mhm.
too.
But another person bringing their skill and then
Yeah.
being able to use it
Yeah.
in Canada.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, yeah. And that also opens up like just let's say another perspectives or something
Yes.
for
it's
individual.
even friendship. Like
And
the
friendship.
Because,
That's a very nice word. Yes.
yeah, because it'll be 2 years in June since this East Indian family come and they live across the back alley. And I introduced myself and talked to her because she was
Yeah.
out in the yard, and about 6 months later she's come to me and she says, "You know what?" I said, "What?" She says, "You're my first friend."
Aww. Yes.
Yeah, and they're like
Yes.
family now.
Yes. And that's very, very important, especially for newcomers and
Yeah.
immigrants that come here. One of the challenges for them,
Yeah.
for us, is if we get into isolation, and that's usually happens to the mothers, mostly of a family that comes in here, especially if there's younger children, because they tend to be really housekeepers,
Yeah.
and so they cannot do other activities yet until they can really take care of their children and their husbands that needs to work and all of that. And there's a lot of culture that also still follows that kind of role in the
Mhm.
family system and stuff as well too. So it's very important. That's really amazing that you did that, because it's very important. And they're shy too, right?
Yeah.
One of the main thing when I got here, and I even have the college degree and stuff, but I was still very scared that the Canadian or the English-speaking people will not understand me. And it's because of English is not my first language. Like, I'm so worried about my accent. I'm so worried about, like, are they gonna understand me? Am I going to explain it more? You know, like, there's always that fear. And so they tend to be like shy, and they don't want to speak up, and because they're scared to like be mistaken in how they will speak and stuff. When we are learning English in school in our home countries, it's very, very important, and we are very, very like taught about grammar. And so that's always the mentality of the immigrants, newcomers. Like, we cannot get mistakes in our grammar. It has to be correct grammar and correct pronunciation and all of that, right? So there's always that in mind, so that's wonderful.
But there's some people who have English as a first language who can't do it either.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's also a reality and stuff. Yeah, that's true.
I think one of the other things is a fresh perspective.
Yes.
Because when I worked for Parks Canada, I had some young ladies from Japan come into the nature center.
Yes.
And they were so excited, and they said, there is this beautiful exotic bird outside. And what is this beautiful exotic bird? And I thought, well, I can't
Turkey?
think, like, is it a bald eagle or something like that?
Yeah.
So went out, and here's a little magpie hopping down the sidewalk. And they just thought the iridescent
It's just
feathers
beautiful,
were
yeah.
so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I said, most people think of that bird as a nuisance. And she said, why would you do that? It's so a magnificent
I
bird.
know,
And they
right?
took like 1 million pictures of this magpie,
Yeah.
you know, and videos and.
Yeah, the winter time. It's like a lot of the people that grew up here, born and raised there. It's like, it's winter again. But for newcomers, it's like, oh, it's snow. It's a beautiful white, because you know, I love winter. I love white Christmas because it's something that when I was growing up, it's only something that I saw on TV and movies. And so being here, it's like, it's a wonderful experience. But like the December, January, but after that, that can go away. I've learned about that as every year passed. So, what are the challenges that we see having a lot of newcomers?
Well, the one thing you always hear is they're coming and taking our jobs away.
Yes.
And I'm always, then I ask, oh, you really wanted to go work at Tim Hortons? You should probably go apply. You know?
Apply, yes, yeah. So there's always that.
That's a ridiculous
yeah.
statement. Or where would your grandmother be right now if they didn't have the newcomers working in our care homes? Where would you want grandma to come live with you?
Right.
So there's this idea that they're coming and taking away.
Yes.
When they're adding to.
Yes,
Mhm.
and that also can drop down into the stereotypes, like stereotypes and then some myths that we just kind of think that it is, and that's one thing that we have to slowly kind of take down. Slowly take down. It will take some time, but it will eventually, hopefully, everybody would get to the grasp the idea of like, no, we're wanting to just work and have a living.
Because I was going to say acceptance, but you guys both kind of covered that. That's basically the point I was going to make, was about acceptance, but that's essentially what you said.
Yes.
But also to clarify that, when I worked at Mount St. Joseph's, it just started off with just a handful of Filipinos. Now it's more, as Father DJ says, it's multicultural now.
Yes.
Which he really likes.
Yeah.
He's also from Vietnam.
Oh, there you go.
But I remember, I would hear that at work too.
Yes.
Where they would say, oh, the foreign people are coming to take our jobs away. But as my friend Joe Stenberg said, he's retired too, he's in his 80s now, he's older than me. But I like how Joe put it. He said, no, the Canadian government offers the jobs to Canadians first.
Right.
And if Canadians don't take it, then Joe Stenberg said, it's
then the
open to
foreign
foreign
workers
people.
comes in,
Yeah,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's that misconception
Yes,
of where they think they're taking the jobs away.
yes.
But as Joe said, it doesn't matter who's in power in the federal government, he said, they offer it to Canadians first.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so there's just that.
But it helps to clear the air.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I think there's just more like education and learning that we
Right.
have to do, and more conversation like this.
Right.
It's nice to have, like, you know, in every coffee that we do, and there's always like a freedom to talk and converse about it. And I would encourage everyone to be not offended. You know, like if somebody would come up to me and ask me something as a Filipino or immigrant, I will not be offended. I will probably be, yep, I've heard that, but I think this is what is going on, or on my perspective, this is what it is. You know, and it's so nice to have just that friendly, respectful conversation, rather than you kind of spread a different rumor that is negative and stuff. So it's nice to be able to openly and respectfully talk about it and stuff. So yeah, what else? What can we see? Other challenges? I know there's quite a big nationwide issue and stuff around Canada with that too. That, you know, like just being respectful of being here in Canada.
Well, it was on Evan Bray about flying flags from different countries and about the conflicts and, you know, bringing conflicts from their homeland to Canada.
Yes, yes.
And that's sort of the perspective. It's like, oh, everybody's going to bring their rules or their conflicts here. And again, it's just education and,
It's just education.
and getting to know each other.
Exactly. I think that's the most important thing, and that's why that we really like to open our events and activities in PAMC, so we can gather as many and various culture and peoples in that gathering, and to be just able to talk and learn more about it and stuff, because you don't know, right? Unless you don't ask and stuff, or else it, like, social media is good, but it's also very bad. Because you will get to read a lot of, sometimes it's somebody else's opinion as well. And so it's nice to be able to do that. I've seen a lot of TikTok videos recently, and there's this one East Indian guy that's mentioned something, and it's very, very good, his message is, and he said in the same thing. He said we should not forget that we have moved here in Canada, and that we have to be respectful of all the other peoples in Canada, and not play the victim. That's what he said. There should be respect, because there's already peoples here and stuff, right? And because of many peoples, like, it's so hard to please everybody and stuff. But we have to learn to adapt. Like for me personally, I'm a newcomer, I'm an immigrant, I came here in Canada, let's say, like, for a good life and stuff, right? But I have to learn to adapt. I have to learn English so that I can communicate well, because I know that English and French are of Canada's languages and stuff. So I have to learn English. I have to learn the workplace culture and value here. What is their workplace and value? But I can also put a little bit of input from my own expertise and experience and knowledge and learnings as well. But there's just all that respect and that give and take relationship that we can offer and stuff. So that was really good.
But with Tapastrama, you had your own challenge, but you addressed it in the way that you just talked about.
Yes.
Is what I was going to say.
Yes.
I was going to bring up the Tapastrama thing,
Yes.
but then as you were talking, it's like, no, this is what she gave us her message.
Yes,
Right?
and the good thing with what happened with Tapastrama was, and the same thing happened. A lot of people did not know PAMC. And a lot of people did not know what Tapastrama is all about. And so, and I think they're probably not from our community. They have not been to the festival, so they don't know. And that's how they use social media in a negative way. But the two groups in Tapistrama, they both came to PAMC and requested for a conversation, just for them to learn each other and for them to know what can they do to be able to work together, you know, like, and that would be good for everybody else. Like, what can we do to be able to help each other and stuff?
Yes, because you gave me the number for the one group and I had the number for the other group, and
Yes.
the other group asked me to pass the number on to the other group.
Yes.
And I did that. I just middlemanned it
Yeah,
because
yeah, and they
I'm
can
hands
talk.
off, and then they
Yeah.
can talk at their own leisure. But
Yeah,
it was like you were part of the connection that helped make the connection because
Yes.
you gave me the number of the group.
yes, and to just have a better understanding.
And he said, please connect me, and I have an email for the other
Yeah.
group. So I just emailed the number, and then it's not my business. Here's
Yeah.
the number.
And they
If you
can
wish,
do
you
their
can have a
conversation. Yeah, yeah.
And if you don't, that's
Yeah.
fine too. But if you wish,
Yeah.
there you go.
And then hopefully there will be more
Mm.
understanding and stuff in there, and learning. So that's pretty good. Yeah.
Because you said a challenge, and I didn't even think of that until you started talking. And I'm like, wait a minute, she had her own challenge, but you addressed it in the way that you said. So-
Yes. Yeah. There's always a challenge.
Oh.
Even in our personal lives,
Mhm.
there's always a challenge. That's part of reality of life, and that's how we grow, right?
Mhm.
So and all culture and cultural groups and community also has to grow. But we have to grow in a positive way, and as much as we can, you know, and stuff. So that's one thing that we can really do. Just respectfully do conversation and talk. Small talks, even just start with small talks, and that will grow into something more positive and valuable. You just don't realize it and stuff. How it will impact all of a sudden your whole family, and then the community, and then hopefully our country, and then the other countries and stuff. So how can we help in making our community more inclusive and welcoming?
I've just been waiting for this question. So 2 years ago when I started here, I took a training, and the one statement that stood out to me is that when someone comes into the museum, they should be able to find something here that they connect with, that tells
there you
their
go.
story, that they go, yeah, I'm part of this
Yes.
history here.
Yes.
And so we have our beautiful Kistapananak room, and it just thrills me when I hear people go in there and go, oh, this was my community, or this was my
Yes.
uncle in here, and oh, I didn't know it was in here. And
Yes.
they're so excited to make that connection. So a year ago, June, we went down east and we went to the Pier 21 Museum. And it had a display about Dr. Malhotra in there, about her coming to Canada. And I said, Greg, this is crazy. We walk in and here's Dr. Malhotra from Prince Albert right here. And her story.
Nice.
And then I started looking around, and we have that beautiful display upstairs
Yes.
from Prince Albert Multicultural Council. And we actually had 4 from the YWCA this past week for a tour. And the one man was very serious, very quiet the whole tour. And then all of a sudden he saw the
And the-
Ukrainian display, and
yeah.
he was excited. And then
Yeah.
the young man from West Africa and the other man from the Congo, he's saying, look, here's your flag, and
Yes.
here's your
yeah.
story. And that was just so exciting. And one thing that Michelle and I have batted back and forth
Yes.
a few times, and maybe it'll be my retirement job, I don't know, eventually, because neither one of us have time for this project. But our dream is, and there are grants available to support it, is to do research on a timeline of immigration into Prince Albert and area. And
Yes.
to find the people who are the movers and shakers coming
Yes.
in, like Dr. Malhotra and other medical people and teachers and
Yes.
lawyers and whoever else, and volunteers, and
Yes.
tell their stories and have it like a traveling display that we could
Yes,
take
that's
out
a
to the
dream.
schools, to the library, to other museums, and say, this is, because I went online, and I don't know if I could find it again, but I was looking for the history of Filipinos in Prince Albert.
Right, yeah, that would be so, I'm
And, yeah.
interested to find out
And
about
we
that.
thought, oh, it was like this year. And then Donna said, oh no, when I worked in the doctor's office in the late 60s, we had a whole influx of Filipino nurses come in there, which I didn't know about. You know, I was a kid then. And then, where is I going? Oh, but then it goes back farther than that. There were Filipino sailors that came to BC and started, they were sailors and fishermen, and they started a community in BC. And one of those Filipino men decided to come east. And he came through Prince Albert, but he didn't stop here. He actually went to Melfort, and he stopped in Melfort and lived out the rest of his life, from what I understand, in Melfort. That was in the 1800s.
Oh.
So we say like, oh, Filipinos are new here. But we're going back the 60s and the 1800s.
Right.
So
I never knew about that Melfort one.
so I, you know, it was something I came across, and I didn't bookmark it or anything, but I should have. And
Because Melfort's got its own interesting history with Dr. Shad and all of that.
Yes.
And their celebration of Dr. Shad.
yes,
I think the Melfort Museum should look into that Filipino.
and
Yeah,
now
that would
like
be nice.
we have
Because they've
tours
done
here.
lots of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, we went to see it. But we have tours here from students at Sask Polytechnique. We've had 2 young Vietnamese girls doing research that were here for their class on hospitality. We've had the YWCA here this week. In our junior society, we have a family from Eritrea. You know, we have Olha from Ukraine, we had Nikhil from India, we had several girls from the Philippines
Yes.
working here, and we had an intern for 2 days.
Jessica.
Jessica,
Yes,
yeah. And then she
yeah.
got a full-time position with Sask River, so we
Yes.
lost her. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's probably have changed for like since
Yes,
years ago, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's really nice to see that, you know, like there's diversity in the workplace.
Mhm.
And that's really big in Canada now. Not only in our community, but that's like nationwide. And you see, and to be honest, I've been to US trips and travels, and I love Canada when it comes to like diversity in workplace and all of that. I can really feel that it's given more importance and value here. That we have been welcoming with our immigrants and newcomers here in Canada, and I'm very grateful for that because I'm an immigrant myself, and so I experienced that firsthand.
I wanted to say 2 quite different things. One is when I was researching men who had died from the Prince Albert area in World War I, soldiers who had died in World War I, there was a Syrian, perhaps Lebanese community towards Meath Park.
Oh,
And there was a soldier who died from that community, and I haven't, it's still in the back of my mind to research that community. I haven't done it yet, and I'm not sure how I'd start, but I think I would be able to find them. So, you know, people from all parts of the world have been here. And the other thing I wanted to say is, probably as many of you in here, or some of you anyway, when Ukrainians first came to Canada in the late 19th century and early 20th century, they were considered to be racially different. Yes, we don't think of that anymore, but at the time they were, and there was a lot of prejudice against them, and it
Yes.
was because
I think I heard about
they
that.
were
Yes.
considered to be racially different. And I did do quite a bit of research on that community because it's my mother's community. And so our ideas about what makes people racially different or
Yes.
ethnically different changes.
Yes.
That was 100 and some years ago, but it definitely was very strong, and they were seen to be of a different race.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah.
And the good thing about now is that has now changed.
That's right.
That has now
People
changed.
don't think it, don't even realize that anymore, but
Well,
at
isn't it
one
also
time it
true
was-
the Irish too?
yes, exactly, that's
Yeah.
another good example. The
Yeah.
Irish were also considered racially
Foreign.
different,
Yeah, they were considered.
foreign, and now nobody would think of that.
Ah, that's
it-
really
though
very
it
interesting.
changes. Yes, it changes.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy that, you know, I came in the time that everything has slowly changing in a good way.
I have a letter that my grandma's younger brother wrote to her, and he was an RCMP officer, and he talks about going to a Ukrainian, he broke down by a Ukrainian farmer's house and how they helped him and stuff, but the language he used was not appropriate, like he called them a slang, and
So they do have a
And
slang
it was
name
like-
before.
it was like, oh yeah, you know, like how amazing that they were able to help him get his vehicle up and running, and that they actually even fed him and stuff. And it was like
If you're not
very
fed
much
by a Ukrainian, you bet you definitely did something wrong.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it surprised me because the term he used is something that I grew up hearing all the time,
Yeah.
and I didn't realize what it meant, that it was derogatory.
There you go.
Ukrainian jokes were big
Oh,
when I was
yes.
a kid.
Mhm.
Oh,
Same.
yeah.
And that
Oh,
was the better part of discrimination against Ukrainians. If you go back 100 years, 120 years ago, 130 years ago, and go through the parliamentary, this is in Hansard, the parliamentary record, and there are so many slurs against Ukrainian people immigrating here, it's quite shocking, actually.
Oh, really? See,
And
that's
yes.
that's very
Yeah, it's
interesting
in
to
the
learn.
official record. And so it's just a good example of how those attitudes have totally changed.
Totally
You
changed.
just never hear that anymore.
No.
But it was a big thing at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
so
was.
that's really it's a good change, hopefully,
Yeah.
that we are going through and stuff right now when it comes to like race and ethnic background
Yeah.
and color of the skin and just the different the difference of people physically, you know, because sometimes like no matter what, I would always say this, I grew up in the Philippines and we never go to hospitals because first of all it's very expensive, can't afford it. I grew up with elder neighbors that know traditional medicine healing and stuff, and we just go there and they just do massage and put some leaf behind our back and some kind of a leaf or a traditional crop plant or something like that. And then I came here and I learned about the traditional healing of the indigenous peoples and their elders. And it really was very close to home for me. And it's because that's how I grew up. And so all of like so when I had an elder, and unfortunately she passed a couple of years ago, but she was my elder for years, and she has helped me through when my mom passed and I went through grief and stuff, and she helped me, and I followed an indigenous of a First Nation traditional healing for grief, and that really helped me. And it's so amazing because we're thousands of miles apart, different culture and traditions, different growing up, but then it's like I came here and it's like I found an elder, and I found the traditional medicine healing of the indigenous peoples very familiar to me, and that actually really like helped me through my grief with when my mom passed away 6 years ago. So it's very, very interesting. Beatings from the indigenous as well to the African beatings, and so they're all kind of like the same, and you know, and so they're in their clothings, and it has a meaning, it's sacred, it has a symbol, you know, like all of that. So it's we always encourage, especially in PAMC and all of our activities, that if we go back to the conversation, and if we start to talk to people, we can find our commonalities rather than the differences of each and everyone's culture. And hopefully we would take the commonalities more and grow that and spread that rather than the differences that we have. Oh, they're black skin. Oh, they're dark brown skin. Oh, they're whatever skin. So like we should not look into all of that aspects of a person, and it's because we are all like human beings and stuff. So that's kind of like how like we can slowly kind of like hopefully open everybody's eyes into that. And so we have been very, very thankful that in all of our events and activities with PAMC, we have seen of a lot of growing population of indigenous peoples that comes to our event, and a lot of the Canadian citizens that are born and raised here that has come. And so it's a good sign that there's now a growing number of people that are now slowly to open and to be welcoming of all the various cultures and diversity we have in our community. So hopefully we can grow that more. Yes, wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So thank you for having me. Thank you so much. And hopefully I can attend more of this in the next time. But it's amazing and amazing conversation. I hope you will continue that every day.